It says,
Do you have any problem getting on the other night, Dennis?
all right, it says you're live.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome to the June 3, 2020 meeting. It's our audit and monthly meeting. We are once again appearing both digitally or by, I guess, by film or television or whatever you want to call video, I guess. Hard to say. Hopefully video and audio. And so we do not have any member of the public that's present here. So we were provided with a copy of the minutes, and I think they were emailed. I might have been the only one that didn't get them or something. My computer just didn't pop up, so
Okay.
I'll check and see
Okay,
if it's me or the computer.
okay. And these are for both May 15th and the May 22nd.
Yes, yeah.
The May 15th meeting was our, the hearing of the ballots, so that's why it's a little lengthier.
Yeah, from the official canvas.
It's kind of hard, I will say, trying to decipher which ballots you were counting and for what reason. So hopefully it coincides with what the recording is.
We're looking at the May 15th right now.
Mm-hmm. And I need to take Mr. Holliday's name off the signing of the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I had to remind myself not to email it to him.
Oh, yeah.
Then you get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I had one question on the backside of which would be page 2.
On the 15th. Mm-hmm.
Going, if you go down to the bottom, it's the third paragraph up beginning director payments.
Mm-hmm.
7 ballots that weren't counted on election day still in their envelopes. Mr. Halliday made a motion that these 3 ballots would be counted.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4 envelopes need to be certified. And if approved, they need to be counted.
Mm-hmm.
When I read on, it may be in here and I missed it, but did we, was there a determination made?
Those were certified.
Okay.
The envelopes were certified. I didn't include that in the minutes, but yes, those.
Well, it was my memory that they all got.
They all met them.
They all ran through.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they did.
37. That's the 6.
Mindy, do you know what HAVA, what it stands for, the HAVA grant?
Help America Vote now.
Yes, God bless them. Paid for a lot of equipment over the years.
Yeah, I can't complain, it's
Yeah.
been pretty good to us.
And the state's been kind of questioning us on things, so I'm kind of wondering if they're gonna provide some to maybe purchase like the machine that we were looking at that would scan the ballot envelope.
Mhm.
You know, like the old one we had, that we want to purchase a new one. I think potentially we might end up getting the money to help
Well,
us
I
buy
know
that.
that,
I'm kind of just wondering.
It'd be nice.
I know that after we gave the report on how much we spent for the primary election, and the emails that we've gotten saying, you know, we've already got the $10,000 out to each board. Potentially, there could be more. So I think that's what was the purpose of that grant, or that report, was to look to see how much
Yeah.
actually was spent by each county.
The major difference, I did catch one thing where it said, on page 1, it says Chairman Sykes asked for a motion to adjourn. Should that have been on page 4?
No, this was for the May 22nd meeting.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep. May 22nd meeting is just one sheet front and back. May 15th meeting.
Well, I knew it was on the May 15th,
Yeah,
last paragraph on the first page has the adjourn. Shouldn't that have been on the last page?
Oh, it is on page 1, Mr. Wentz made a motion to adjourn. Page 1 of the May 15th.
yeah, you know what, that,
Probably should be just marked out because you do have the adjournment
yes.
on the back page.
I didn't even
I, you know what I do is I take,
I know what you're saying. I know.
I take the old minutes and just add them on and retype them, so yes, you're right, I do need to take that out.
Yeah, because it's there, right?
Yeah, the sentence that needs to be taken out is on page 1 of May 15th,
Yeah, the very last.
the very first sentence. We did not adjourn in the middle of a meeting.
Well, if you can do that without disturbing any of the signature lines, we can go ahead and approve it with that.
Yeah, I can just take that out.
And just cross it
I'll
out.
take that out.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
So, well, we have to accept it.
Approve both the May 15th and the May 22nd minutes.
I make a motion, we accept the May 15th and May 22nd, meeting, minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, passes. I went ahead and we'll just use mine, I put signatures, or I signed off, knowing that we're gonna correct that one item.
Yeah.
We have bills.
And I needed your signature on a couple of them, but I forgot. to put it in
We
yet,
bought a
so.
keyboard, we're apparently going into the music business, this is good.
I have so many cords wrapped around my feet and where my
There
desk
you go.
sits,
Thank you.
that I keep knocking my
Did you get all of
PCU,
it?
my PCU unit over. So I asked Mandy if I could get a wireless keyboard, and I did. It makes my life a lot
This
easier.
one's.
It's not dropping on my ankle either.
See if we can find the rest of,
That's from the 15th.
15th. The rest of the minutes for the 15th.
Here's a page if you want to.
And sign this. Oh, I already got the signature page started, but the rest of it got lost.
One that has page 1 and 2.
Yeah. Right there to your right, Glenn. That page there to your right. Is that part of it?
Oh, I think
Flip
that
it
might
over.
be, is it page 1 and 2?
Is it 1 and 2 of the 15?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so that'll
goes
go
with
with
Charlie's, goes with Charlie's piece of paper. And then I'll take it.
Okay.
that. Yeah, so that, just the top page are the ones you had there. The ones in your
Yeah.
right hand, just the top page.
Oh, you're close.
Yeah, that's good.
We'll have it here in a minute.
Hey, she did say the quill, said you can order.
That's yours.
You get some.
All right, and of course, we, it looks, the big item was the, poll worker, stipend that we had approved earlier, so that's 11,000 and change. Everything else is,
Now, I would tell you that's not all of the poll workers. We're still waiting on paperwork for about 10 other poll workers that didn't sign either their W-9 or their PERS form. So I'm waiting for those to come in. But the auditor said the majority of them were done. I could go ahead and send it in one voucher. So I'll be sending another voucher once I receive all that paperwork. It should be about less than $1,000.
Yeah, that's what they not too
and
much.
every once in a while, you'll have somebody who just isn't gonna do anything.
Yeah.
When's the last time you?
I'll make a motion to pay the boards, or the bills as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Glenn?
When was the last time you contacted them about?
Oh, I sent another email and I put on the email subject line, second attempt. So they know that I've been.
Well, there was
trying to get
one, that's laying on the counter that came in this morning. They put
Yeah.
it in the mail slot.
And the one gentleman that you had contacted us about, that had contacted you, strangest thing, when he had been emailing Mandy and myself. When we hit reply to him, a totally different email address comes up. We didn't
Completely
recognize
different
this
person.
for a whole different person. Our IT couldn't figure out, and Mike Doyle from RBM was here one day, and I asked him about it, and he had no idea why. So I don't know if it's a quirk in the, at one point, they said possibly he may have forwarded his emails to that person. I explained in the email why he hadn't gotten response back from us, and that was why. So when we respond to him, we now have to make sure we type his name in, because when I type his name in, his correct email comes up. Strangest thing.
Yeah, it is weird. All right, and you have copies there of the one advisory and memorandum. And then we did have this letter from the USPS,
Yes.
just kind of, it's like just a little note saying they're happy to work with us.
They were happy?
But this was
Yeah,
from
and
the
they'll be happy to
Dayton,
keep
this was from the
working with us.
Dayton, I imagine he's probably the public affairs person
Yeah,
from the post office. This didn't come from our local.
no. And the same guy had asked for copies of our envelopes that we used to mail the ballots and for the people to mail them back in. So I sent him copies of those. He asked for those and we sent that.
I imagine being as close to Butler County as they are.
I was gonna say, I wonder what he sent to Butler.
Yeah,
I thought the same.
maybe not of a nice handwritten note to the.
Well, or maybe it was more like a, I am so sorry.
All right.
And then,
The last item on that correspondence,
Yeah.
you have in our files, it's from
Covington.
Covington.
And I emailed this out yesterday too, so maybe it went here.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we had the same problem with it.
We got quite a public records request.
now, remember with public records requests, as I remember Allison telling us, and we can get with her to make sure, we do not have to make a record to
Right.
provide it.
You don't have to create.
No,
It's a record that we already possess that we're supposed to share. So to the extent that this is requesting a record we don't have.
and there is quite a bit of it that's requesting records we do not have.
Right.
There is some of it that we'll be able to.
And are there any issues about identifying, because I thought I read in here identifying voters.
It's it's public record. I mean, we can't give like a driver's license or social security number. That kind of thing, but you can give like their county ID number. I think they might have asked for that.
And you did share this with Allison already.
Yeah, and I've already shared it with
And
them.
she's given us a couple of responses back.
Mostly, any of the records that we have already are the ones that have to do with the absentee ballots, not the applications.
Right.
So, that's what we'll be able to provide.
Well, again, I just was looking at, again, if we go to page 3, number 2, and then the small, I think it's, I guess I was just looking at it. I assume we probably know how many absentee ballots we mailed. That may be a record we do
Right, yeah,
have.
we do have that.
We probably have a record how many came back.
Right.
The third request is
Like the ones with no signature.
the C is to your office on the last day for which a ballot would qualify to be counted. Did you guys keep track of how many came in on the 10th day
No,
after the election?
we don't keep track of that, but
They are
we can probably
timestamped.
pull but that's something we would have to then.
Well, that's
Create a
specifically
record.
what they're asking for, just on that one day, how many came in.
But we could do a report from that day of how many we received into the computer system.
Yeah, but that's not answering the question.
Yeah, but that's the best we can do.
Because, well, again, they're asking you to now make a record,
Yeah,
which is the number of ballots returned on the last day, not how many we put into our system.
Right,
that
How
would,
many was actually-
that would
word is
require a
returned.
count of looking at the times.
And that's not a public record we possess.
right.
I'm assuming we may have a record of how many no signatures?
Yeah, we
But-
code them that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can pull a report for that.
And Mandy also talked to Triad to see what
Yeah.
they could produce for us as well.
Now, they can, for the first part of this, they're asking about the absentee ballot application. I talked to Brandon there, and he said some counties, like when we get one, we don't enter it if there's something wrong with it. Like they didn't sign it, or they forgot to put their ID or birthday or something like that. We don't put them now into our computer system. We don't, we produce a letter for them and let them know so they can fix it. But they can change some of our codes in there, so we could enter them in.
Okay.
Now, they will get a number, so, because right now, when we enter one in, it gets an application number.
Mhm.
So then we'll have a higher number, because even the not good ones will have a number. So we just might want to talk about that sometime and see, just think about if we want to do that, they can change it if we want.
What's the advantage of that?
Then we could pull a report for this kind of question.
So
It's really
even
the
the
only
bad,
way.
the bad application for a voter
Would get an application.
would get an
number.
application number, we send out the LS,
We'd still send them, a letter and say,
Yes.
you didn't fill this in.
and then they get the corrected application, we number it.
It would keep the same number,
Oh, it would keep the same number.
yeah. So if they
Well, as long as it
corrected
kept the same number, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
See a problem
So I
with
thought
that.
maybe, we talk with Melissa and
Yeah.
Emily about it too and see
Yeah.
what we want.
There is one thing in our system I was surprised that we don't do, is that we don't keep track of sending out the application ballot, or the ballot
Just
application.
the ballot application.
And I thought that's, because that way we know when people were saying, I didn't get one, we could at least see on the system, well, one was sent out to you on April 14th.
We used to keep a paper log, like when I first started,
Uh-huh.
we'd write down who all we sent to, we cut up like little strips and.
I'm wondering if there's a notes section in our system that we can at least put
There
it
is a
in there.
comment section.
I personally think it's nice for us to be able to say, one was sent to you at this address on this date. I wonder if Triad could give
That's
us,
something we might
something
talk
like that.
to them, yeah. talk to
I think
them.
that would alleviate these people saying, I never received it. Well, they may never received it, but we have proof that we sent it out.
Yeah,
Well, we set it out this day.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So do we need a motion for that, or?
I don't know, I don't think so. I just
We
think it's
didn't
something.
vote on election day, did we?
provisional voting in person on the 28th, on April 28th. People
Um,
came in and voted
Yeah, but that
provisional.
wasn't election day.
Who is this company?
No, we didn't really count.
They are
it.
huge.
Well, I mean, they were
laws.
calling it election.
Well, it is.
Yeah, because you
There
see.
was
what
Well, I
a-
guess
else
I'd
is
like
on
to
there.
know records reflecting the number of no signature
I'm assuming
absentee
they are
ballot
working
voters
on behalf.
who voted
of
on
the
election
PAC.
day,
Yeah, which there were no absentees.
That
They
would
were
be
only
none.
provisional. Right,
right?
right.
Dennis, are you familiar, Charlie had asked who Covington, they're a huge law firm, correct?
I don't know that because it's interesting, he did not sign it as attorney at law.
Yeah, he decided sincerely, John Nelson.
Yeah. For all I know, he's, works in the mailroom. So it could be a law firm, but they don't even say that.
I told Charlie, my assumption is he's probably working for a PAC or on behalf of a 501c3 or something, I don't know.
I wondered if it was like a news.
A news organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with having that many offices,
I mean, limited liability, I don't know if it's partnership, LLP in New York. Or if that, is a limited liability
and you
professional.
were checking with
organization.
other counties to see if they had received any, correct, Mandy?
Yeah, well, I sent it to the states too on their legal intake system. I haven't heard back from them yet. But Triad said other counties would have gotten
So
them.
I didn't think they
When I talked to
purposely
them.
picked Washington County out. They probably
We
sent
wouldn't
this
be
to.
big on their schedule.
I wouldn't think so, but one never knows, you know.
I was looking them up here on.
They sure did ask for a lot. How long is it gonna take you to do all this? Or have you started?
Well, most of it, we won't be able to even provide because we don't already have a record that exists that provides that information. So it really shouldn't take us too long.
So when you do it, are you gonna let them know we don't have this record?
Yeah, we'll tell them that's not something that we already have.
A lot of times what you can say when you get something like this, a lot of government offices do this. This scope is too wide for us to be able to, I forget the legal terminology that you can use.
Yeah, there is something
That you can say.
It's too broad.
Too broad.
Too broad and
Yeah.
burdensome.
Yes, and burdens and so,
This
but,
looks like it to me.
well, it sure did to me too.
Sometimes.
But the things we can provide, I don't have a problem using
Right.
them.
Well, what is it?
But I'm not gonna send the staff
What
out
it
to
says there at the bottom.
dig
5 pages long, basically.
Yeah.
And mostly they seem to care about signatures. If it has no signature or a mismatched signature, seem to be like their main more concern.
But I don't know. I'm
Well,
sure
it
that
could
was
be,
my
but I was right, it's a limited liability partnership.
It is. So they're attorneys?
They never admit that.
Yeah, they don't really expressly say it. But you kind of get
Yeah,
that.
they wouldn't have to be.
Because at the
they wouldn't have
end,
to be
you know,
attorneys, they have to look
attorney
at
and-
liability partnership.
Yeah, and it mentions solicitor.
Yeah, and,
So,
you know, which in England, you have a barrister and
You
a
have a limited
solicitor.
liability.
And the barristers are the workers.
That's little.
Solicitors.
You have an LLP?
I should have had
No, no,
some.
no, no.
You have an LLC?
Barristers.
I should have had that a long time ago, but I never did do it, and I'm too far along on it, I'd like to change it now.
I don't know.
All right.
It's not that hard. We just did it for the fun.
Well, it looks like you're on top of it, although, and again, their date is 7 days to do this from the date they sent it.
yeah, and we haven't got, it says they sent it by email and mail, but we haven't got the mailed copy yet. It might come today.
Okay. All right, I see. So the email did arrive.
Yeah, that's the email that we got.
All right.
And so then we've got our audit.
Yes, yeah, our first order of business.
You know, and there's a copy of, it's the legal size, big one that's stapled. For you. But we found all ballots for each of the precincts. Looks like it didn't copy right there, but we received all, or found all ballots from each of the 3 precincts that we were auditing, the Fearing, Lawrence, and the Skinner East A. And when we compared them with the results for each of the candidates that we were checking, everything matched up properly.
That's what we like to hear.
You know, then they had a series of questions there for us to answer. They were the state was asking about the cost, and we didn't put anything there for cost because,
I know, I just noticed that.
yeah, it didn't copy very well.
Well, no, every other page is upside down.
Yeah,
So what were I'm sorry, the townships again?
it was Fearing, Lawrence,
Yeah.
and Muskegon East A. And so that came up to, you have to audit at least 5%. So with those, it came up to almost 7% that we audited, 6.9.
Oh, yeah, 6.9334.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And we were 100% accurate.
yeah, when we compared them, they were,
Can't be better than that.
and that was by a bipartisan.
Right. So is there one you want us to sign?
Yeah, I might have you do this and put the copy for it properly here. I can go ahead and sign.
Is this something that you do after every election, you do an audit, like you just pick 3?
Yeah,
Well, you
Well-
pick what they tell you.
Oh,
Yeah, whatever.
the Secretary of State gives you
the guidelines, and then you go,
Yeah.
okay, go by the
And
guidelines.
there's a
and they
little-
tell you who you're going to audit then.
Yeah, they usually, tell you all 3 of them, but this time.
What races?
Yeah, what
races
races.
you- Okay, yeah.
Federal,
So-
whatever.
This time they told us just the top of the ticket on the Democratic side,
Okay.
so for president. And then they, told you pick 2 countywide,
Okay.
races.
Right. I need a motion to certify the results of the audit.
I move that we certify the results of the audit.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll go ahead and sign your name to it. We got that taken care of. Good job. Always nice to know that we came out in good
Yeah.
order and.
And it, I mean, it was sometimes looking for a needle in a haystack for those ballots, because we had, almost 11,500 ballots and
And we
searched
found-
through each one by hand.
That's right. It wasn't like you could go to a ballot bag
Right.
Yeah.
where you had.
They were all mixed
precincts.
together.
Well, and those receipts, I call them receipts, but the ones that, for the in-person voting, those things are not easy to read. That type is about
Yeah, it's smaller print.
much smaller. But we did find something, maybe found something in one of our vendor books, that's kind of like a cabinet on wheels that has the slots that we might, that we're interested in purchasing, where when we do this, then we can, when we have to open them, we can start sorting them by precinct. And the slots are only this much, so when you get a slot filled, then we can put that in the box for Belfry 1A. And that way, we have a better system of when we have to go back and do the audit, we don't have to go through all 15,000 ballots. We can just go ahead and find it in that box, in that one box.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
What's the cabinet cost?
That's what I was trying to, I was thinking it was in this.
I can't remember what it was.
We'll have enough for what we have now.
We have 50 precincts, and I think that, yeah, it has.
It would have held over 50.
Yeah, it would have held over
Yeah,
50.
more than-
So like in the bigger precinct, like Marietta,
So you
Well, we
actually
could
put
probably
those in
use
that
2 or
unit?
3, yeah.
Well, it was just a cabinet, kind of.
But
Yeah,
it was on wheels, which made it even nicer, because see, we have to, this is the room we use to count. And we wheel
Like
those
this, yeah.
ballots back and forth in here.
This is, you know, like if you have both. So it has 177 storage slots.
So for those bigger
And
precincts,
so I
we
mean, it
could
would lock
probably,
too, but we
use 2 or
wheel it
3
into the
slots.
double lock it area anyway, but
can you lock it, or,
it looks like it would.
okay.
I thought, I didn't read it there, but it kind of looks like it might. But I thought we'd put it, I mean, we wanted the double lock.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Anyway,
they'd have
make
ballots,
sure
so
one
we'd have to
lock.
have it in the double lock anyway.
It might just be the handle there, not a lock, but it had 177 slots. I don't, did it even give a call for pricing?
Yeah.
yeah,
So we'd have to call her email to find out.
yeah, yeah, because this one over
Yeah,
here,
we're
which
trying-
is
it says call for
sizably
pricing.
little, is 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if
So you
these
get
have
that's what
any-
prices you get for it.
4,500.
Yeah, but I don't think it has the same type of slots.
No, I'm just wondering if it's in the $2,000
Yeah.
or $3,000 range.
Which
How much?
potentially,
2 or 3,000.
yeah, we don't know, but he's wondering if it'd be.
It says call for pricing, and they already have prices on stuff that are 4,000 plus.
Ooh. And,
So you keep wondering, what's that old phrase, going to a restaurant, you know, if you have to ask what it costs.
Can't afford it.
Can't afford it.
I just said that to her,
I know.
and I'll bet you're right, it's gonna be several thousand, it's a metal, it looked like a metal
Yeah.
cabinet.
Oh, yeah, metal locked canister.
Well, but even like a tool cabinet, I was shocked how much those are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nothing went down here during the spring.
No, and nothing's went down, yeah.
But, hey, the worst that happens, we find out.
But we'll check to see the prices.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
we
guys
call
know.
or email.
Sure. We didn't we vote on the crew stipend already?
That's what I was thinking.
That's what, yeah, we all
But
thought we did, but she didn't find it.
I could not
on
find it
the-
on the recordings. You
Yeah.
talked about it, but I don't think there was ever a vote. There was a vote for the poll workers, but I've listened to November's on, and I didn't hear anything on that.
That's, okay.
And we wouldn't have, you know,
Wouldn't be the
voted on the
first.
March one back in November, so.
No, if we were doing any voting, it would have been back when those guys delivered and we got together
early in
afterwards
March.
and heard we were not done.
I
Yeah.
think we did talk about it, maybe we didn't, maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't have.
I know you talked about it, but I
What's,
don't.
what have we done in the past?
But the last several elections, it's been 400 apiece.
And how many guys do we have that we're
6.
paying? Okay.
So,
And basically, they did the same work, they just did it bang, bang,
yeah.
They did it one night and then the next night.
undid it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion, we pay the, delivery people the same stipend we've had in the past.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
You know, off the record, if, I'm just wondering if we're gonna have to look for someone for delivery if, Mike doesn't get,
I'm kind of
or if
wondering
he gets on the
that.
board, we'll have to find someone.
Right.
I know I have asked my party for recommendations for subs because, in case, Jed got sick the day of the election. And luckily Jack and his wife were able to go ahead and set up everything at,
Well,
First
yeah,
mass.
before we got our extra
Yeah.
people in.
yeah, so, I think it would be good if we had some sets of subs, just in case.
Well, the problem, you know, I agree with you 100%, but just getting the workers is difficult.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, I was given a name of one that could be a sub.
At
for us,
least if we
so-
had one,
Yeah,
that would be good.
so yeah, and he's retired, but he's younger retired, so.
Right. And it's
That's what we need.
possible that with a sub, we could bring them in as opposed to just say, well, you're a sub, we're not calling you at all.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah.
them in when we're back to our regular, where we have that
Mhm.
35 days of this, that, and the other thing. Bring
Well,
them in
and I know, I told
to do
when
some work in the back or something.
Yeah.
when our party had our
Yeah.
Zoom
Yeah.
meeting the other night, I got on there and said, congratulations for being on the central committee, and part of your responsibility is finding me poll workers. So,
Yeah.
and that's when I also asked about possibly getting some subs for.
And just a reminder to them, they make a recommendation,
Mhm,
because we have had instances in the past
mhm,
where someone has really wanted a person for whatever reason,
mhm.
and the remaining poll workers all said, appoint them, send them there, we quit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that bad. I mean, it was ugly.
Amen to that, it was true.
And so we had to go back to that central committee person and say,
Yeah.
we appreciate that appointment. Is there a possibility you would want to appoint someone else? Oh, no, this is the person. Well, understand, yours is a recommendation.
Yeah,
And again, it's not to hurt people's feelings and so forth, but every once in a while, we have an oil and water situation.
well, and I would tell you,
And we have to
and there
decide.
are notes, I will say, that Peggy has made throughout the years within,
Uh-huh,
that
yeah.
says.
because again, she
knew.
and usually you're the one that catches the flag.
Exactly,
It's rare that once in a while, we'll get a call at home
yeah,
of, hey, I appointed somebody, what are you people doing?
yeah,
And you have to go, well, can I just kind of quietly tell you that, here's the problem.
and it is especially nice to find those poll workers that are willing to go anywhere in the county.
Oh, yeah, those are,
Particularly ones that say, I don't feel
Those are-
comfortable staying in my old precinct, so send me anywhere.
yeah, those are
So,
gold,
They
those
are,
are gold
they are
star people.
gold, yeah,
I call them superstars a lot of time, where you can say, hey, based on who we have out or wherever, we really need someone who knows this, knows the system,
yes,
so we can have a good result and so
Yes.
forth, and we don't have a
and of course, we're fine for a while, but I will tell you, of course, I'm always hurting for more Democrat poll workers. We have, several,
Yeah.
plenty Republican poll workers, but I'm always needing more Democrat to keep it in a bipartisan. I will tell you, like places at the fairgrounds, there's not always 2 and 2 at each
Yeah,
table.
well, fortunately, we're in
Yeah,
that cabinet, so that helps a little.
yes.
It does.
But yeah, if you could please remind your central committeemen that is part of their responsibility. And I'll be sending those letters out probably in July.
I got signatures to do.
Yeah, I was getting ready to send out the certificates that y'all signed.
Back in the day.
Yeah, for central committee, and realized I put, that
General.
it was a general election, not a primary election. So I thought we'd re-sign and have.
Where's our
a proper certificate.
Yeah, you guys do you have stamp
No.
signatures?
No, that's why I was saying, where's our stamp? I don't recall.
So we have to do all for the ones we did?
Yes.
Yeah, but just for central committee, the ones for the candidates that moved on to the general election were all okay, those have been mailed out. But it was for the central committee. I had just finished signing the last one when I realized, saw the mistake, so I need to sign all these ones again too. And then I'll have, do we want to have John come in to sign them since he was a member at the time?
Well, I can call him and.
Yeah, I thought we could just,
contact him.
yeah, get a hold of him. So that way they're accurate.
The memorandum of understanding is on our business. Have we had any contact with the JFS?
Not recently.
Not recently.
To ask us where it is?
I believe at the last meeting, when we talked about this, you were gonna maybe talk to Allison.
Yeah, and Alice and I have not
Okay.
physically been able to talk about
And you can
it.
postpone it to the.
I do need to talk to, Mr. Freeman about getting quotes for the IT room or an air conditioner. If he says, well, we have to have the MOU in place before we can do that, then I'll let you know.
Mm. It feels like two of them.
And then the, Secretary of State Summer Conference is now virtual instead of in person.
And you all have, what, you need 8 credit hours?
Yeah.
You have
and then-
7.2.
Or 7.25.
7.25.
So,
So once we get the agenda for the virtual conference, I'm assuming you can probably.
I've marked it on my calendar for those 2 days. in August.
Okay, well, I'm assuming you could probably just choose, I would assume you only need 1 class.
yeah, that's what.
Well, yeah, depending on how they run them.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they're like half credit hour.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Like a half hour.
once we get that out, we'll let you guys, we'll send that out and let you know, so you.
They haven't gave us updated information yet on how to. Maybe we could all just gather around in here and watch something.
Boy, that, I'll tell you, stuff's flying everywhere, Glenn. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, Central Committee people are flying through the air.
Have you guys always got certificates
Mhm,
to Central Committee?
I think so.
Gotten certificates for Central Committee?
I missed
Are these
it.
just for the elected ones,
If
or,
you had these
Yeah, this is just
separated
for the
by
people.
party,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it didn't really matter.
so if it,
I can do that.
if they were appointed by the committee, then you don't do certificates to them?
They weren't elected.
Yeah, but I mean, we could do, I guess, to say that you were,
Oh,
I think there's one that's an appointed
Yeah.
that we could do.
If
that
we got
say
a
appointed.
list, right?
Yeah,
What did we appoint
When
last
are
night?
you
4 or
guys
5
meeting?
last night, Andy?
we met last night. Our
Did we appoint 5 last night or?
Oh, I thought Charlie said it was canceled.
The
The
executive meeting,
executive was canceled. But
the executive meeting was canceled where we can get
Or
John's
postponed,
replacement.
I guess.
Really? We appointed like 1499.
Did you?
Mhm.
I think we had, yeah, like you said, around.
But you guys
5.
had more. We have more holes to fill than you did.
Yeah, that was.
And then we had a very entertaining meeting in the sense that, the way that it was worked, what was it called? It wasn't there was a specific phrase used because there was a monitor, if you will, there.
Yeah,
As
well, we ran
opposed-
it through ODP
Yeah,
and
but they provided a monitoring person,
yes,
who assisted with, everything.
and Jennifer
And could
Bruner.
control and could mute, unmute people.
Yes, yeah, he says it makes for, and I can understand this. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes we get chatty. He says it makes for a better, well-run meeting, because not everybody is seen and not everybody has the opportunity
Yeah, and
to.
for what it's worth, and it isn't worth much, he reiterated to Willa, that he's done this all over the state.
Yes,
And we were by far the most organized, meeting he's ever had.
Well,
It's
that's
really-
good.
kind of comical because I didn't feel that it
I
was
know.
totally
I was-
organized.
Yeah, we had to have one person call in because they couldn't.
They couldn't do it otherwise.
Well, and
so-
we have members that don't have internet,
Yeah.
don't have the bandwidth to
Yeah.
have the meeting at their house, you
Yeah.
know?
And but Jennifer Bruner
Yeah.
made an appearance.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. That
And so she
did.
swore the folks in,
Yeah.
which I thought was a nice thing.
And John Donnelly was,
And yes, it was just kind of nice once in a while to see these statewide candidates actually take an interest in the hinterland
Yeah.
rather than, dropping by like 6 places and so forth.
well, we
They're
also
all
had
the big
a former
counties and don't care
former
about
candidate, Taylor Sappington, who is now the Nelsonville treasurer. He listened in, he was on
Yeah.
the call as well, so.
Yeah, so it was.
It was my
really
first
nice.
Zoom meeting, so I.
This was my first Zoom meeting, yeah. it was
Yeah,
last
now, I mean, I do Zoom, I've done 2 Zooms for a Lions Club.
Oh, okay,
So, and, I mean, they work just swimmingly. And we have a number of people, and when they would talk, they would slide in and pop up on your screen as the picture.
Mhm.
And then when they quit talking, they drop back down, and you have a
Yeah.
line of them. You
Yeah,
can
I
slide
like
your
that.
The
line
ours
if
had
you're
where you could
looking.
slide across.
Yeah, and so it worked out well. The one thing you had to remember is that some folks tried 2 devices and didn't turn off, and when you do, you get a wah, 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 wah,
Yeah,
wah, wah, wah.
yeah. And then that's
See, we had a little bit of an echo on ours.
Somebody
so
might have
that.
had two
I wondered that.
going.
well, I like the ability to mute and unmute yourself, and that's what I always, when I run a conference call, I tell people, everybody please mute while one person is talking, and that helps.
Yeah, and then you don't have the background.
Now, you guys said you were going to People's Bank Theater, is there a charge for you guys to go?
I don't know because Jim Wisik,
He's on the,
he's the one that made
He's
the
on the
arrangements, so.
executive. Or he's on central too.
but is he maybe on the?
So when are you guys meeting
I
to
don't
do
know.
your
It's
thing?
supposed to be at the beginning of July, I think July 2nd.
Okay, well, that'll be before the July meeting, so that's.
Before our July meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, for here.
He doesn't cancel it.
the only issue will
Hopefully
be
we'll do it
whether,
in person.
whether there's an emergency of sorts.
Right.
But we're
that
still
comes up,
good,
then
right, with
We'll be
three?
good as long as we have all 3. But again, I'm having surgery on the 17th,
Of July or June.
June.
Thank you.
Well, I put, I don't know if you saw it last night or not, but I put a thing in there. I said, Mike, when are you gonna reschedule our meeting? He didn't, did you get it when I
No,
did
I
that?
think, or no, I don't know if I saw that one, but then I was trying to count some of the.
So,
think I
I want him to reschedule it right away so we get it done.
Well, it would be nice having this, if the new person could be on board before the summer conference, so they could participate in that virtual.
Well, yeah, you definitely, if they can.
What is-
because it would
what's-
help
what's
bring it
summer
up. That's
conference?
August 12 and 13.
Yeah, August 12 and 13, so you might tell Mike that.
Again, if he's thinking he's getting it, he may feel he doesn't need as much education.
Mhm.
Well, he should know
Well, you know
Yeah.
that,
there's people running against him as chair, so.
Yeah, oh, here it says, postpone the executive committee meeting until the first Monday in July. Is what it says.
All right, well, Wednesday is the 8th, so
and that's
that
July
Monday
6th.
will be the 6th.
Yeah,
So it'll be you're on and best be here.
Yeah,
So you may wanna, Charlie, let just the
Anybody know
candidates
that-
know, oh, by the way, we're voting on the 6th and the meeting's the 8th. Just
So be
for your
prepared.
calendars.
yeah.
and
And
August
so
12th and
forth.
13th. they
Well,
will.
And not that it's critical, because I don't know, but you just never know what's coming up. I understand that the Marietta school system has made an inquiry about cost to be on the general. I originally
For
thought when I heard
August.
cost, I thought, August?
Yeah, we were past the deadline for August, so we're good.
Oh, that's
there.
good, yeah, I couldn't
Right,
remember
towards
the
the top,
deadline.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, Lord, please, we don't need that. So anyway, it's the general, but you never know what's coming up. They had that litigation that was in here about,
From that advisory.
whether how signatures are gonna get collected and all that good stuff, and person to person and what have you, and so there's, Lord knows what other litigation could be coming up. I know there's movement afoot, I think isn't there legislation to secure for November that there will be, election day,
Yeah,
without knowing. I mean, I just wondered what happens if in October, hospitals have no room because we're in a far worse shape than we ever thought we were before. And we can't get poll workers for loving their money to come out and do anything. How do we handle it? My 2 cents worth is that, if Marietta College isn't doing anything, we would have one polling location in Marietta College in the athletic
In
center.
Johnson,
And, that's where you'd come to vote
for the whole county.
for the entire county, and just open a number of doors and so forth in, and any machine,
have a bunch of stations.
it's all, any
We just
machine,
have all the
any
machines there.
line counts. And we'd have one voting location because we could probably staff it with enough human beings
Yeah, put out all of
to
our.
get by
poll
because of
books
what we need. We'll have every poll book there. And so we'd have as many poll workers, manning the poll books, and we'd have enough people to be able to walk around.
My only problem with that is parking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, to be sure.
Yeah.
And so then our backup option is if we aren't flooded, maybe the junior fair building, and that becomes it.
Yeah.
But it has to be I think it has to be a single location.
Or like, if they're not,
Or if you
They're
could divide
together
the
in
county,
place.
or could you
That was the
divide the
old
county in
idea.
half,
yeah, make 2.
and do 2 of them and just tell 2 schools, we're here.
Well, in the House version of the Senate bill passed, what was the number? For,
I'm not sure, there's one of them that's 680, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's-
But I'm not
the
sure
House
which one it
version.
is.
Aaron Ackerman, our lobbyist for the association, sent a letter to the representative that introduced this in the House, asking for the following recommendations. In fact, Michelle
Yeah, the association.
is testifying today at the hearing, which is at 2:00. So if you have anything to do at 2:00 and you want to listen to the Ohio channel, I understand that.
What channel is that?
It's the ohiochannel.org.
Yeah, online.
It's not on TV.
Oh.
It's the Ohio's version of C-SPAN.
Oh,
So, I'm gonna try to listen in at 2:00, but part of the recommendations that the association is making, as well as the Secretary of State, was to, have the Secretary of State send out applications, not postcards. And for, all schools to be closed, so we can use school buildings. And to have absentee voting I think,
It's like
the Saturday.
I think it's the,
10
instead of the
days
Saturday
before,
before, it's the
yeah.
Tuesday before.
And there was one other thing about timelines. Extending early voting, because the Senate version, I think, shortened early voting. So extending early voting, so if I sent it to you guys, it's in your email from Aaron. I didn't know if you got Aaron's emails automatically
no,
as board members.
I don't.
You don't? Okay, so I have been forwarding them to you, but it's all in his email, so. And they
Good.
said that if there was anybody, I do know that, somewhere, I think it's something I got from like the Ohio Democratic Party, that if anybody was willing to testify, they were still looking for people to testify on behalf of that, and I thought, Dennis, I should have sent that to you, so went up there, but,
They happily gone up.
so hopefully we will hear some more about that. I think the House is a little more open maybe than what the Senate was, but the Secretary of State and the association are both asking basically for the same thing, so. The school buildings will be huge. Now,
That
whether
would be
schools are
nice.
even opening in the fall is, remains to be seen as well.
I'll be honest with you, I don't see how they can not open the schools.
I
I don't see how, they're
Yeah.
talking about maybe going every other day. I don't see how the teachers can do it. I mean, it just,
Well, I don't know how you accomplish what you need to
That's
accomplish.
what how kids are.
I have heard that the school bus, that it's, unless you're from the same family, two children can sit in the same seat, if they're from the same family. If not, it's one child per seat, every other seat. We have some of the largest geographical school districts in the state down here. We don't have near enough buses nor bus drivers to haul students like that.
and the money.
And the money
Yeah.
that has been cut because of the virus.
No, I agree. The only, like I said, what the back end of that is, you get a series of kids in a school with, what is it, Kawasaki's syndrome?
Kawasaki syndrome, yep.
Yeah. Really
That's,
is a rash.
that's apparently one of the things this COVID, this SARS virus is created is something that's very similar or identical to this Kawasaki syndrome and so forth, and it hits children,
Mhm.
and it's not good.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad.
Not good.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, if you start having kids and then you start having children pass away,
Mhm.
I'm just sitting there going, the board members, are gonna be looking at lawyers going, what kind of insurance do we have, et cetera, because people are probably gonna, at that point, there's going to be that age-old, you knew, you should have known, blah, 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 blah. And, so that's the sensitive issue that comes up is how many people are gonna be willing to go? Because they've already started trying to pass legislation saying you can't sue people
Yeah. They're already,
because they're trying to insulate them from lawsuits because they know full well, if you do this or don't do this, or the hospital doesn't have room for this, people are gonna end up suing over, I had a heart attack and they couldn't get me into ICU because it was everybody there with a COVID problem. And they should have planned for it and had a second ICU somewhere else.
Or non.
And they're going, well, we have to tear out walls because the amount of equipment that's needed, they're wired and tubed for all of that in the ICU. That's why we have it there. We just can't throw you in a room because we don't have the tubing. We don't have the equipment, the electricity, the connection. Anyway, so,
Well,
but
I'm
on our
interested in-
purposes, I guess we'll see what happens. We just, I think, are gonna have to be expansive and open-minded, because if we have trouble with poll workers, even with schools open, we may have to say, well, we'll pick 2 schools and divide the county in half.
Yeah, on each side.
Yeah, or divide it in quarters, if we could go that route, and then we'll use 4 schools. But again, that presupposes we have enough poll workers
Yeah.
that are willing to work a full day. That could get,
I'm hoping the stipend that they're getting is
yeah.
incentive.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, everybody has done this pretty much just out of the love of the country
Yeah.
and wanting to vote, because nobody's going to Vegas on the money we're paying.
But a few of the people I talked to anyway said they were, willing for November.
Yes, I have not had
Yeah.
anybody specifically
Well, I know.
tell me since
Right.
this.
I'm just saying,
As of right now,
if the
anyway.
illness crops up, some of those folks
Yeah,
are
like
gonna
Yeah.
rethink, or as Charlie's found out, your spouse
Yeah.
Yeah.
rethinks it for you,
Or the kids.
or the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Richardson, hi, brother, Marty Crenshaw.
I have not gotten the opportunity
That's
to try to
fine.
do that.
Again,
Yeah.
And we saw the updates and
Yeah.
so forth. We're working our way, are we?
Yeah, well, somewhat, yeah.
Slowly.
But we-
Well, we understood it was
Yeah.
a slow process.
Well, and we are gonna have, soon the state had told us they're doing the NCOA process, which is where they get, from the post office, from the USPS, they get people who've changed their address with them, and they send us that list, so soon we'll be doing, they'll give us a list and want to change addresses for however many, usually it's around 1,000 people
And that's sort of
that we get,
intensive
so that's
work.
something, yeah, that will be working, because you have a certain deadline, you have to get it done.
Oh, part of the,
It's about
the House bill too, that we are proposing is allowing us again to call people to remedy their application mistakes. And also for people to request online their absentee,
To send the request to us online.
which is something that only overseas folks can do right now.
Okay.
So there's some good things in the bill. Let's hope it passes.
Well, as much as the computer's going about, I mean, why not let them ask for their application online?
Well, with and it's still a court case with the electronic signatures that one of the groups I think was to legalize in marijuana.
State initiative petition.
Yeah, state initiative, we're trying to get use electronic signatures. Well, one judge approved it and then I think another judge is holding
Yeah,
it. So
different court.
we don't know where that stands. And it would be difficult to confirm an electronic signature.
When I was last here, I did ask for you folks, and I think you're gonna be, you mentioned.
No, I'm at a board of election meeting.
Looking with Triad
Well,
or whoever, who's responsible for our, record of absentee ballots arriving,
Let me try again.
the envelope. And whether there's a scanning system that we don't have to get from Unisys RBM, if it will do what needs to be done, will correlate with everything, and just to see if there's a different price
Yeah,
that's out there, because I was looking at our numbers. Our poll worker numbers, this doesn't include the money we just spent, right?
Yeah, this, like the poll worker expenses there, we have 42,000.
Does that include what we just
Yeah, that's
approved?
with our 11,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have 42,000 and we have roughly would you say 25,000 expenditure?
Probably it would be
Or a little
between
heavier?
29 and 25 for.
All right, so I'll be terrible and say 30. That leaves 12,000 there,
Mhm.
which would be a comfortable 12.
Right,
Seasonal workers, we may be comfortable there at 5 or 6,000 if we really use them.
7,000 of what we.
Yeah,
From this, so far
right.
for the year.
Then you hop down to training and travel. There's a little bit of money maybe flopping around in there.
Yeah, but the travel, we would have probably used all of that if
Right.
we had went in person to conference.
Right.
But now we won't.
We won't, so there could be just a little bit, and then contract services. Right now, we're sitting at 101. Is this where we also have to pay if there are, software licenses or
Yeah.
all of that?
Yeah, and, like for where RBM came in for election day and stuff, we would pay them
Right.
out of that.
Are
Which we
we,
haven't been.
are
doing
we
yet.
pretty well, equipment paid out?
Equipment, no, we still have all that.
So I mean, that money is potentially available.
Yeah,
What I'm talking about here is getting a replacement scanner for the absentee envelope, ballot envelopes. So that we don't have a situation because of the current system, at least as it played out with 11,000 or how many votes we had.
11,400.
We had 200 we couldn't account for, and at 3 or 4 in the morning, we were still trying to account for them. And my only concern is that if we could avoid that, and taking into consideration, we could have an influx of a lot more people because there wasn't as much interest in this primary as we otherwise might have thought, but we figure in this general presidential election and add on Marietta schools perhaps, there's going to be a real interest. So we could have a lot of absentee folks, again, with the illness bug floating out there.
People are already requesting. We're
Yeah, so
averaging about 5
scanners.
requests a day
For an absentee
for
ballot.
absentees already.
November?
Yes.
Yeah, that we're already
Is that right?
sending in the application.
And that's only going to
You said
increase.
500 a day?
Five
Just five.
requests.
What do you can't send them out, Ashley, you're just stacking them up and getting ready to go?
We're sending out the applications to them, yes.
Yeah,
And
Oh,
then have
okay.
the applications sent back, and then I tell them, once the ballots are allowed to be sent out, then we'll send it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we can't be on the actual ballot till
Right,
October.
right. So, but again, it just seems to me that the scanner was a help before when we had
Right.
one that worked. And the price is just, I just can't conceive that every scanner out there has to be 65,000 or whatever. I mean, it's scanning for a certain amount of detail and it's entering into a system. But I can't believe that there isn't something that Triad or somebody has that's less expensive.
I would
But
think.
what do I know? But I wanna
Yeah, I
find
agree
out,
with you.
and if it turns out we can scare up 65,000 or whatnot, I'm of the opinion we ought to own one of those puppies.
Well, I'm hoping, because I think with some of the surveys we've gotten from the state, that they're maybe trying to get the HOP money to help each county buy one of those.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
That's what I'm thinking. You know, I mean, they could have said that, but that's kind of a feeling.
Yeah, but my only question I
So,
have is anybody
great.
going to Congress with the $2 or $3 trillion they've already ponied out? There may not be as much
Well,
interest in ponying out money on some other issues. I just don't know.
Well,
I guess we'll see. I
when
mean,
you
they're
have the
printing money,
president
God
talking
bless them.
about the legality and the trustworthiness of mail-in voting, one never knows.
Well, again,
I
I
would
mean,
think this Congress would be,
I've thought about that long and hard, and my theory is that it's really no different than what we have right now.
Yeah.
In the sense of, there are gonna be people who cheat. But I have a firm belief they're on all sides of all parties.
Oh, yeah.
There's just a certain element of people, if I can get away with it, I will, it's, there's a justification. And so to me, that's just a canceling out. It's not like it's gonna be some mass herding event. And again, you just pass, why can't we pass laws that say you can't go follow the mailman around when he's delivering to the elderly and knock on their door and say, can I help you with this ballot that the mailman just stuck in your, here, can I help you? Oh, and I'll make sure that gets there.
part of that too was also having return envelopes for not only the ballots, but the applications as well.
The postage would be paid.
That all postage would be paid by the Board of Elections.
Yeah,
That's
Well,
part of the
yeah.
deal.
that's part of the bill.
Well, they'll give us money, I'm assuming, to do that.
I think so.
They better, huh?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, or a
Each
scanner.
county's not gonna be too happy.
Our scanner will be returned.
Seriously.
But then, once again, it becomes, well, what kind of return postage are we gonna do, Only if it's.
Well, and we were fortunate, in using Moscow, we saved 5 cents per envelope because of the permit that they have, that the county has.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
them. So,
Mhm.
All right,
Oh, I did want to say on your one sheet that has our, time on it, that has our hours left, what's in red is the current, and what's in black is from the time before,
Oh, okay.
just so you can compare.
I thought that maybe that's what that meant.
Yeah, so you can see what we had. So what's in black was from the last meeting, and what's in red is the current, what everybody has, so you can see what anybody's used. And what's underneath of the name is for that person. So this is Emily's.
So Emily's used 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
Karen's used, make that 20, so it'd be 22 and change, 25. You used 30, and what's it, 12, 63, it's
yeah,
37, so close to 50.
about 48, I think is what she
Yeah.
actually.
Mhm. So we're getting there.
Yeah,
We're starting.
so we're working.
Is there a number you
Working on it.
want us to shoot for?
What was that?
Is there a number you would? as a
Well,
board would
what
like
was
to
the
see?
county number, 120?
I think it was 80.
I thought it was 80 or 90.
Yeah, for the comp.
Yeah, 80.
I thought we shoot for zero. No.
Just lower than what we have now.
I gotta save a week for help.
Well, the only reason, again, as low as we can get coming, rolling around to where we're gonna be building it back up.
Right, because we'll be building back up in November,
Yeah.
well, starting in October.
Oh, yes, October for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, anything else?
Well, number 9, the answer is no.
Are
Probably.
there?
We don't know for sure all 4 will be here.
Oh, but
Yeah,
you,
for the July meeting.
for the 3 of you.
But, I will email Mike
Okay.
and say, Mike, you're gonna wait until the 6th to have this meeting.
Yeah.
And the person who gets that has got to be available for the 8th for our regular meeting.
Yeah.
I said, you might want to consider doing an emergency meeting or something.
Yeah.
And
maybe
you might
a
let them
little
know
bit
that
sooner.
also the 12th and 13th of August to take, and they can take those classes at night too, since it'll be, I'm assuming it's
Well, I
gonna
don't
be,
know.
we don't
Yeah.
know if it's a webinar that'll be taped. Like
Or
I'm
is it some
taking,
kind of in person.
new deputy
Well, I
director,
wonder.
Yeah, like
director
live, I
training,
guess, or whatever.
and they're
It'll be
already
live
taped
in
and I
this
can take
area.
them at my
Yeah.
leisure, so.
And potentially they'll offer it to the people who couldn't make
Folks
it.
across the whole state.
I know, I wish we
Like
could do it in
James,
person, it's nice to have
When
that.
I started the first week I was there, I was.
Yeah.
doing-
Yeah, yeah. And they provide a lot of good training, it's nice to have that.
Who's that?
The Secretary of State's
Mentioned
office.
that it's a good idea for them to go, people to go as they first start here to the Columbus meeting.
Yeah, well, that's what, she had the, deputy director, or director training that they do, but they canceled it first, so she's not having
So now they're
that.
not-
Oh, and
And they had that for board, it's the same for board members.
they had that new training for John. They never had when we started, did they?
Yeah,
No, we
Yeah.
just were thrown into the fire and Ann Block introduced us as, yes, this is my probationary Board of Elections in Washington.
Are we done?
Well, we will be.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Well done, Mr. Slate.
Good job. We can turn off TV and life good. Oh.
Oh.
all right. Well, I really hope